Watcher, Joe Omani here, Professor of Consulting. I just wanted to just relay a quick message, and that's around the use of senior external people to help with business development. I've just had a meeting with 7 or 8 CEOs of boutique consulting firms, and it's something we were talking about. And it's very easy, the common message is don't use, salespeople in effect to sell consultancy, because consultancy requires relationships. It requires knowledge of the delivery side of things, because consultancy isn't a product, and it requires nuances that perhaps an external person isn't going to have. Secondly, they tend to be very, very expensive, so it's a good way to lose a lot of money, as many of you, I guess, who have experimented with this have found out. But I have seen it work. And in this conversation I was having with the other boutique CEOs, 2 or 3 of them had seen it work. And I think the key thing, number one, is obviously your partnership team needs to step up. So anyone that's in the leadership team needs to be doing business development, building their business development skills, becoming the trusted advisor, and becoming the visible expert, so that they start to build a brand and a reputation and start to build that network. And that's something that you want your partnership team doing. Some are going to be better at it than others. So that's the first thing to say. The second thing to say is that, we have seen external, people brought in as chief business development officers or chief sales officers and work very successfly. They tend to be very, very expensive. So you want to typically be getting them on a high level of commission rather than paying them vast amounts of salary, especially in the first year or 2 when you're really trying them out to see if they work. But that conversation, these people are very expensive. You want the people that's experienced, that have the black book, that can have the conversation. And you want people who live to do that. People who love going out to lunch, love having coffees, love getting introductions to people. And this is why it's very much dependent on the person you get. And there's a lot of luck involved. I've seen some firms spend a lot of money on a very senior person who simply doesn't deliver. Ideally, that person isn't selling typically, because, in a lot of the success stories we were looking at, these people weren't selling, but they were opening the door. They were having the conversation. They were getting the networking. And very often it would fall back on a partner to do the follow-up, to do the follow-up call. So, and interestingly, the CEOs I've been talking to, and in my own experience, very often these people don't have a consultancy background, but they're very experienced. They're very well networked in the industry, and they have that wonderful, business development mentality that is around, getting connections, getting introductions, going out for coffees, having lunch, and all the rest of it. But perhaps aren't necessarily the people that are going to, get them to sign the contract, but they're going to open the door that will allow you to do it. So I guess the summary of this is, I don't think it's fair to say you should never use external business development people or bring in external people. Just focus on business development for that reason. I'm increasingly seeing chief business development officers. I'm aiming to interview a few of them to see their side of the story. But, certainly I've seen it work, and a few people have seen it work, but it does very much depend on who you get. And it's not an excuse for not developing your partnership team's skills when it comes to business development. Okay, with that, goodbye.